Workplace Futures 2013 took place on the 12th of February at the Crystal Siemens building in London's Docklands. The theme for the conference was Strategic Partnership, Securing the Future for FM. We spoke to some of the speakers and delegates attending the event about some of the key issues raised during the day. This film looks at the relationship of facilities management to other corporate functions, how it engages in business strategy, whether or not it should have a place in the boardroom, and how it can add value.
Well, I think what we've looked at in particular is the relationships both up into the corporate organisation and left and right into the other corporate functions. And what we're particularly interested in doing is testing how we can effectively build those relationships between facilities management and other corporate functions like HR, IT, and business units themselves. There's been a huge amount of development over the last 20 or so years in facilities management and making that more professional and more developed in terms of its capability. I think now is a good opportunity to raise the bar, as the study suggests, to start to build better links with the effectiveness of organisations and how FM can contribute to that.
I'm not sure there's a lack of understanding about what strategy is. I think it's more about people engaging with the FM industry to actually allow them to add the value at the strategic level. I think there's a tendency, as Paul has shown in the work done, that actually most of the FM activity is concentrated at the operational level, because that's what people assume that the FM does. But actually he can do a lot more, and if he's allowed to do a lot more and he's allowed to engage with the wider business, he can add a lot more value. And I think that's the point, really. And the industry is ready and able to do that, but they just need to move on a little bit so we can see that added value come back to businesses and really make a difference and be recognised for it.
Well, I think there were some pretty good questions asked today about, is there such a thing as strategic FM? The FM industry, in my view, tends to be very customer-led, and actually I think it needs to be a lot more proactive in taking solutions to a client and actually solutions which add value. If they can do that, then I think they'll engage properly and life will continue as they hope. I think there is a risk that FM does become marginalised. If people don't come up with good solutions, the nature of outsourcing is you're there to cut costs, and if you keep cutting costs and keep cutting costs, where do you end up? You end up with people, immigrants working below the minimum wage, slightly dodgy practices, people underbidding all the time. It's just not the way forward. You need to be able to stand up in front of a customer and say, you have to pay me, but I'm also adding value, and that's incremental. I think in terms of positive change, there were the couple of really large deals by JLL and ISS, which were really global TFM deals. I think those are mould breaking, and I think that slowly but surely more of those will happen over the coming time. And rather like the BPO and IT outsourcing business, those business models will percolate down to the SMEs, and actually people will become more efficient, clients will be happy with the service, and actually I think it will eventually get to a position where FM is really seen as a value-adding service rather than just a cost.
I think it can move on, and I think it's still a growing industry, and a lot of probably big corporations, businesses actually don't realise what a value FM is to themselves and to their stakeholders.
It's a really interesting point. I'm not sure it's got a place in the boardroom, to be quite honest, but I think that's not to say it can't be hugely influential for our client strategies. I think the connection between FM and the workplace, and therefore employee engagement on the client side, the effectiveness and productivity of the client workforce is massive. And from that perspective, I think we hold a number of the levers in the industry that make a place great to work or not. So I think the connection between the FM profession and the human resources profession, for example, needs to get closer within client organisations. So quite apart from the whole real estate functionality, understanding that we hugely influence the working environment from the perspective and experience of the consumer, I think is very important in the battle for talent, in the battle to retain people, and indeed in the battle to engage our own workforces.